You know things are bad when you try to throw your poop bag out the window while flying across the Atlantic, and it rips in the process. Talking with Kerry McCauley about his epic trip across Africa in the hangar. Welcome to In the Hangar. I'm Christy Wong.
And I'm Dan Milliken. In the Hangar is sponsored by Gold Seal and a great electronic flight bag, iFly GPS. Also in this episode, Wingfield Aviation. John Wingfield, the owner, actually owns and flies a 210, which is the type of plane that's going to be in this story.
Dan, you made me say poop bag.
I did.
What in the world is going on?
All right, well, we got a great episode today because we brought back Kerry McCauley, who was the author of this book, Ferry Pilot. Now, Kerry has some great stories. We had him on earlier.
We did.
And let's hear from Kerry. Kerry, we're going to be talking specifically about the Africa trip in a Cessna 210, which, as people that have watched this show know, I fly a 210. I love my 210.
Shout out to Lola.
Shout out to Lola.
All right, okay, let's start with the poop bag.
All right. Well, yeah, I was ferrying a 210 from Duluth, Minnesota to Dodoma, Tanzania. And most of the trip had gone good. I was over the middle of the Atlantic on the way to Santa Maria in the Azores. And I felt that feeling, you know, that rumbly feeling pilots never want to feel, especially if they're in a small plane that doesn't have, facilities. I'd foolishly the night before partaken in the all-you-can-eat seafood buffet at St. John's Radisson.
Mistakes were made.
Mistakes were made.
Mistakes were made.
Seafood was eaten.
I was young. And now, luckily, I was prepared for this. I pee a lot in the plane. I drink a lot of diet soda, so I use my little Ziploc baggie method. But the other thing I try to avoid as much as possible, but this day I was not to be denied. So got in my my little weird yoga pose that you got to do when you're inside a single-engine airplane.
What do you name that yoga pose, huh?
Squatting dog.
Apt. Did my business, got everything all sealed up in a plastic bag, garbage bag, and I was pretty proud of myself. Like, nicely done. Mission accomplished. Well, I didn't want to fly with it the rest, had a long way to go. Actually, I was on the way to Morocco from Santa Maria, and was in a 210, which, as you know, has an in-flight window you can open up on a hot day. And I'm like, perfect. I'm a genius. Out it goes. Mostly.
Oh no!
It caught. I was so proud of my job up to that point, but it caught on the window latch.
Of course it did.
Of course it did, and it tore open, and it sprayed poop all over the side of the 210. And yeah, so
I'd be finding some rain showers at that point to try
well,
to...
That's where you purposely fly into the
Where's a good thunderstorm when you need it?
Right,
not that day. No, I was flying to Morocco. That by the time I landed, it was baked on, and I could look out. I could look out, and it was pretty obvious what it was too. So I'm taxiing to the
Bird
ramp.
strike.
Huh? Bird strike. Yeah, that was a full bird.
Yeah.
I tried to park someplace.
That bird ate a lot of lobster.
Why does it smell like seafood?
The line boy came up to give me a ride to the FBO, and he's kind of going, you got some, yeah. I go, I know.
Did you tip him to clean it off?
No, and it was like concrete. I literally spent the next 4 days.
Okay, that's not in the book of how you got it off. I was wondering after reading that in the book how you got it off.
Yeah, it literally.
You didn't deliver it to the owner that way?
I'd be sitting there with my fingernails. Yep.
You did fingernails, really?
You don't want to wreck the paint. You can't get a metal scraper. It's a beautiful paint job on a plane.
This
It's my job to get it there.
Better and better. Like just this
Fingernails.
Yeah, and you've got to get it off because you don't know what kind of
it's
chemicals
his own,
in there.
so I guess. But
No. It doesn't matter if it's his own. No.
I tried water, and it was like literally concrete. So it just took over the course of the next 3 days. Whenever I had time, I'd get a little bit more off.
So what were the lessons learned?
Lessons learned, well, maybe don't do the seafood buffet the night before.
Okay.
But
okay, good to know.
If you're gonna toss something out the window, be a little careful. Just a little.
This is probably the most vile topic we've had on the show so far.
All right. Well, it's a good start to the Africa trip.
Yeah.
So there's the 210, primarily white with brown stripes, and you're moving on.
Yeah. So the next day, my next leg was from Agadir, Morocco to Libreville, the Ivory Coast, which is basically down the whole bulge of Africa. And we fly that route at night because down by the Ivory Coast, you're close to the equator. And down there is an area called the Intertropical Convergence Zone. Basically, an area of guaranteed thunderstorms every afternoon. So if you fly all day and get there in the afternoon, good chance there's going to be a huge thunderstorm over the airport. And there's only one airport for hundreds of miles. So
Sounds like Florida.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, but okay, why fly to a zone that's going to have guaranteed thunderstorms?
Because I'm crossing the equator. My destination is just south of the equator. So I've got to flying down the bulge of Africa, then over down to Gabon.
You just have to.
Then all the way across Africa to Tanzania. We couldn't go straight slantways across because there just aren't the airports. Plus, there's some countries there that you really want to avoid.
Okay.
What happens if you fly over those countries?
Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
So that night I took off just after sunset, and I kind of had to hurry things along. Let me back up 1 second. I went to the weather briefing office to get my briefing because this is a 1,800-mile leg, so you're going to want to have a pretty detailed briefing. And so when I got there was nobody in there, and an old faded chalkboard with my N number on it underneath was sort of a forecast for my destination that was 4 hours old already. And that was it. No winds aloft, no route forecast, no nothing. So
Well, at least they thought of you.
yeah, at least they remembered something. But I had to get out of there in a hurry because a sandstorm was moving in on the airport. Right. So it was like, get a pre-flight quick, run up on the fly, take off and go. Perfect. And again, most trips start off nice. I was flying along, getting settled in for it was about a 13-hour leg, I believe. And
over the Sahara.
Huh? Over the Sahara. Yep. Be flying all night, get to the Ivory Coast in the morning. And about 3 hours into it, I had an RBL come on. An RBL is a really bad light.
I was about to say, what's an RBL?
Red lights on the instrument panel. You're not supposed to see.
RBL. I have not heard that.
Us pilots love
RBLs.
Yeah.
RBL.
Yeah, this one said low voltage. Like, that's odd. I haven't seen that before. And I looked at the ammeter and it's showing a draw. Think back to your flying your student days. That maybe I lost the alternator. So I turned some stuff on. Yep, more of a draw. Okay, turn stuff off. I turned all the lights down as low as I could. Turned everything off. And the last thing I did was I keyed the mic on my HF radio to tell ATC they're not going to hear from me for the rest of the night. And that was a big mistake. So I keyed the mic and everything in the cockpit went dark because the HF radio uses a ton of power. And I just drained what little juice I had left in my battery, gone. Yeah, and IMC at night, no lights in the cockpit. Obviously, you can't see, you can't control the aircraft, but luckily I had my mini mag flashlight already in between my legs and shining that instrument panel like, sweet. Now what am I going to, and hand fly too, because that kicks off the autopilot.
Right.
All right, so
Kind of
here's
need power for autopilot.
Here's the rest of my night. I still have 8.5, 9 hours to go. Well, 8.5 hours till sunrise, and then another couple hours till the destination. It's like, great. So I've managed to find a place for the flashlight and the headliner so I didn't have to hold it. And just kept going. There's nothing I could do. I couldn't go back to Morocco. There was a sandstorm there. Halfway, there's one airport in Bamako in Mali. And I was warned not to land there because you'll never get out. I didn't have approach plates anyway. But I kind of deviated over to see maybe it's open because it's one of those cases where, maybe I'd like to be on the ground. This is not real comfortable with this. And it's overcast. And I circled down and I found the city, but I could see the glow of the lights in the clouds. And I got down lower and lower, but I didn't come out of it. And I'm like, I don't really need to be blundering around. No altimeter setting, no nothing. I had no map. I just knew where the city was. No idea where the airport was. Like, I'm probably going to hit something. I probably shouldn't do that. Took off, figured, well, I guess I'm just going to Ivory Coast. And the next thing came up a couple hours later, about an hour later, my flashlight started getting dim.
Oh, no.
Yeah. This is the night I realized if you're going to fly at night, carry two forms of illumination. I only had the one flashlight, and I realized okay, I got to change batteries. And unfortunately, the last set of batteries I have was in my Walkman, so I was going to be out of tunes. That's another emergency.
That's a big emergency.
I have music. But the problem is, if I mess this up and drop part of the flashlight, I'm going to die because I can't control the airplane because it's pitch black. I can't see the instruments. Like, there's no horizon. So it's like I practiced changing the flashlight batteries. I put them in my mouth there. Got it done. Success. Sun finally came up. And then it was like, okay, I got to find the airport now. No instruments, no nav aids. Was able to find it. I found the coast, took a left, found the airport. Like, sweet. Waiting for the light gun because I got no radios. Nothing. Come on, circle a little closer. Nothing. All right, about I had enough of this. Buzz the tower at 500 feet. Still nothing. It's like, okay. Pump the gear down, come in and land. Get hauled into the manager's office and yelled at for 2 hours. And
Oh, he yelled at you for 2 hours.
yeah, he was in there for. I had to write down the whole incident. You know, they said they had 11 countries out looking for me all night. Who's going to pay for all that? They didn't have anybody looking for me, but they wanted to charge somebody something.
Yeah, stupid American.
So that was that night.
Okay.
So the next day, flew to Libreville.
Did you get the alternator fixed?
Huh?
Did you get the alternator?
Yeah, I guess the next day it was probably 2 days later, got the alternator fixed. Then I fly to Gabon, land there, it's late at night, looking for, the FBO's closed, there's nothing there. Put my briefcase down on the steps of this FBO. I'm like, kind of need to use the facilities, and that bush over there looks pretty handy, so go do my business, come back, and there's a guy standing over my briefcase with a sawed-off shotgun going through it. It's like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. I screamed at him and pushed him away and said, get out. Or maybe I said, excuse me, can I help you? I can't remember.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I was kind of on the polite end of things. But he claimed he was an airport security guard and marched me to the hotel. I was a little sketchy, but that worked. So night
What was
number
he
2,
looking
and
for exactly? Just
he said he just wanted to see whose stuff it was. But it was like I had like $10,000 of cash in there, so I was a little leery of losing that. So
Yeah, okay.
next day, get ready. This is the final leg of the trip. It was a 18 to 1900 mile flight, literally all the way across the continent of Africa, coast to coast along the equator, essentially. And I got my weather briefing. Now, this one was much better. Instead of just a chalkboard, they handed me a mimeographed piece of paper, and it was a copy of an infrared satellite shot of the continent of Africa. And he said, here you go, have a nice flight. Awesome.
Okay.
Again, no winds aloft, no destination forecast, no nothing. And so I took off. First country I have to cross is the Congo. And I'd met a couple of British pilots the night before who told me, if you fly over the Congo, don't talk to them because they'll make you land, throw you in jail, hold you for ransom, steal all your stuff. So turn off the transponder, fly at treetop level over the Congo to avoid getting shot down. Just another day.
So when they said that, you actually took their advice.
Yeah. And they said, and I didn't even switch frequencies. They handed me off to the Congo's frequency. I didn't even switch frequencies. I just turned the radio off because I just didn't want to hear them yelling at me and threatening me and stuff. So just kind of go for it. And so then, keep going. And it's just a scuddy day, 2 miles viz, maybe 1,000-foot ceilings, over nothing but Tarzan jungle for as far as you can see. So there's no landmarks. And I left the last nav aid, which I believe was an NDB, and I knew I was going to have about a 6-hour window of no nav aids. So I got no winds aloft, no pilotage, because there's trees. Yeah, I'm over Africa. And so it's just 6 hours of compass work. But then I was supposed to hit a VOR. So I can hit a VOR for 6 hours away, no problem. At least I was hoping that was the plan. It was a great plan. Got to that point where I was supposed to get the VOR, nothing. Nothing. I climbed a little bit into the clouds, but I didn't want to go too far because I'm not I don't know where I'm going to come back down. Couldn't pick it up, so I figured, wow, how lost am I? Because I didn't hit this VOR. Well, I got another one coming up in an hour. I'll hit that one. Sun goes down, line of thunderstorms in my way. I have to go through them. There's no other airports. There's no place to go. Kind of a little mountain range there. And again, I make it through there, and again, no VOR. Second VOR doesn't come up. So now I'm figured I'm good and lost. So what do? If I keep going the direction I'm going, if I can't see the coast of Africa, I'm going to fly back out over the Indian Ocean. And I was pretty sure I didn't have enough gas to get to India. Do I take a left and try to find Nairobi? It's a big city. Maybe you can see the lights, but it's 200 miles off my course. So that's a big guess.
Oh, that's a risk.
Yeah. So I decided to hold my course and just hope for the best. And an hour later, the needle on my NDB twitched because to my destination, Dodoma, had an NDB, or my ADF needle twitched. And it was right on the nose. I was right on course.
So their VORs just weren't working.
Must have been.
And off.
Well, we find out in a second.
Okay.
So I landed Dodoma. I'm delivering the plane to Mission Aviation Fellowships, this group of missionaries that provide aircraft around the world. And they're all happy they got their plane. I'm happy I didn't die again. I'll go have dinner with these guys. And we're sitting there and I'm telling them the story of the day. You're like, you can't believe what happened to me today. And I get to the point about the VORs and they kind of look at each other and whisper something like, what? They go, well, didn't anybody tell you? I'm like, tell me what? Well, those VORs never work. The local warlords always steal the gas that runs the generators that keeps them operating. Somebody should have told you, which I heartily agreed. Somebody got some information I could have used about 12 hours prior to that.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, well, mystery solved.
Fun stuff. Yes, yeah.
What was it like flying through the thunderstorms?
That was pretty dicey because they were big ones. I got bounced around pretty good, and that plane didn't have a strike finder or anything, no radar or anything, so it was pretty much this huge wall of thunderstorms that went 50 miles on either side of me. So you just kind of find the area that's flashing the least and go in there, going nice and slow. Speed kills. If you hit severe turbulence when you're going slow, you're less apt to damage anything. I had some pretty good downdrafts and updrafts, but just keep running an even keel. And
How long were you in them for?
that was maybe only 10 or 15 minutes.
Seemed like a lifetime?
Yeah.
The scariest time I've ever had in Lola, with my 210, was somehow I got into a thunderstorm. I'm not going to go into whatever.
Fair enough.
I was a young pilot, and I have a radar, so I was, oh yeah, I'm going to split it and be just fine. Well, I didn't split it, and apparently, or at least it didn't feel that way to me. I had switched over to an IFR pop-up but right before anyway. I thought I could go over them because they were just new and forming. That's anyway. You can see where I'm going with this. It was probably 5 minutes, but it was a lifetime, and it was the most scared I've ever been in the plane. I will never, ever, ever do that. So that's when I read in your book, you going through the thunderstorms, I'm just like, I'll never do it again. I really thought I was going to die. I thought the plane was going to break up.
Yeah, they can be pretty violent. I've split thunderstorms before with a strike finder, and you see two distinct blobs of lightning strikes in a clear area in the middle, and then you're going through the middle, and all of a sudden you see, boop.
I knew I was
new lightning strikes in your path, like, oh, this is maybe a bad call.
I knew I was in bad shape when twice in that 5 minutes, ATC called me up and said, 20 Yankee, you still with us?
Oh my gosh.
I had to request a block altitude, and it wasn't easy because I was trying to punch buttons, and you can't in a thunderstorm.
Yeah, like you can't see. I mean, you're in such severe turbulence too that you can't even see your
I
instruments.
was dropping 500, 1,000 feet, and like boom, like nothing.
Yeah, it's best to avoid them, but
Yeah.
I couldn't that night. I needed to go east, and they're in my way. There's no timeouts.
Does at some point in a international ferry pilot's life, at any point do you go, okay, the mission is to get this plane over there, but I'm not willing to die for it? Is there ever?
Oh, certainly. It's kind of mission first, but you can't break the stuff. You know what I mean? But you have to be willing to push it a little bit, because if every time there's something that would make a sport pilot stay on the ground, you stayed on the ground too, you'd never get anywhere. Like, it's kind of an iffy day. That's going to be low IFR when I get there. Nah. It's like, no, you're supposed to be able to handle a lot of that. So you got to push it a little bit. But I always try to leave my back door open. If I was flying over Canada one time, there was icing conditions all the way from Toronto to Minneapolis, and I needed to get there. And I was in a plane that couldn't handle ice in 207, but the ceilings were at 700 feet all the way. It's like, well, I can fly under this stuff. And I just made sure I just didn't get to a point where I couldn't turn around and get out of there. And it worked. Would I do that with my wife and kids along? Maybe, but no.
Absolutely
Not with my wife. She would the claw marks on my arm would be pretty deep. So, but when you get a lot of experience doing stuff like that, pushing a little bit, your skill level comes up a little bit. So, if you know what I mean, you can handle more.
Interesting.
Well, I'd like to know what the people think about pushing your limits. So comment below and tell us, does pushing your limits make you a better pilot? Is it worth it? There'd be probably some pretty good discussion going on in the comments below.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kerry, it's always a pleasure talking to you. You've got some amazing stories. Again, his book, Ferry Pilot, if you guys haven't read it, you absolutely should. It's riveting. Yeah, leave comments below. Let us know what you think about being a ferry pilot and poop bags. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you next time.
In the hangar.